is suing loan plus interest. Keith says the living situation became unbearable when Gary began flirting with him and walking around in his underwear. But Gary says Keith is the one who put a strain on their friendship when he moved his girlfriend in without permission and she began flirting with Gary's boyfriend.
All right, Keith Higginson is so...
I am Gary Fields.
You're not a party to this action, you're a witness?
Witness, right.
Okay.
During that time I found that Mr. Waite had a room for rent. And at the time I needed a place to stay. Knowing Mr. Waite is a homosexual, I had no problem with that. I decided to rent a room from him. From the time I started to feel uncomfortable after a little while. He'd walk around in his tighty-whitey underwear with his stomach hanging out, eat with food all over his chest. It was kind of disgusting. I have a rental agreement here and a ledger from all the months I paid rent.
What happened?
My room. There was just constant fights and bickering between them.
Well, did you say to them, did you go?
Denied it. They're always fighting. Constantly fighting.
You always fighting, Gary?
No.
We fight just as much as a regular couple does. Just as much as they would.
Are you a couple?
Yes, we are.
Were you living there too?
Yes.
Unauthorized, I might add.
Yeah.
Unauthorized. So this must have been a real hoot.
It was actually Garrett's idea, and there was no change in rent.
You wanted her to move in?
No, I didn't want her to move in.
Did you know her before she went?
I had met her maybe once or twice before.
With Keith?
With Keith.
Now, day one.
The defendant's bizarre behavior forced him and his girlfriend to move out.
Why is it uncomfortable? You're not explaining this to me.
The tighty-whities, because of the garbage they let build up. And
so the ants came to your door and they didn't go in?
It was our sanctuary, Your Honor. But things just got worse.
And State of Oregon acknowledged, notarized. So you want to borrow money from them?
Correct.
So can I ask a question? If things are so bad, why are you loaning him money?
Because I didn't want to be kicked out on the street. Moving out at the end of the month.
Is that correct, Gary?
No, we came home one day and he was packing his things. We got there and he was packing up everything and I'm like, "You're moving out?" He's like, "Yeah, we can't take it anymore." That was moving out. That was the notice we got when we got back home.
Okay. And what did you say to him at that point?
I was like, "Well, why are you moving out?" "Well, we don't feel safe living here." "Why you don't feel safe?" "Well, the reason they didn't feel safe was because the police were looking for Rachel because she had warrants for her arrest." That was the whole reason. That was the whole reason.
Which came to the door, but they weren't initially looking for me. They were actually looking for Mr. White.
Yes, they were looking for me for questioning in conjunction with my job.
Why are they looking for you?
Because they were doing an investigation with my work because I, along with 5 other managers, had combinations to the safe, so they had to question everybody, so money came up missing. So it was procedural. The detective was there to question me as well.
You were not arrested?
Nope.
What do you want to say, Garrett?
They would have arrested Miss Rachel if she was there, but her and Keith Higginson both.
You know what I love? I love when witnesses, lay witnesses, predict what the cops would have done. Don't you, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Well, no, that's speculation. Go ahead, Rachel. Plus, she's going to admit to it in a minute.
Well, the cops came there looking for Mr. Waite to question him, and he hid in his room the whole time, and Rachel answered the front door.
Okay, so you're saying they're looking for Rachel?
No, they came initially looking for me. I was asleep in the room. She answered the door and told them that she was my sister and that I was at work and I wasn't home.
So why didn't you just come out and say,
well,
I'm here?
I did eventually came out when they came back knocking. They came back knocking and they said, well, the only reason we came back is because Miss Francis had a warrant for her arrest. Otherwise, we wouldn't have came back.
Oh, my goodness. Boy, a lot of drama here. All right. So, what are you suing for?
I'm suing for the amount that she did not pay for staying there for the 3 months or 4 months that she stayed there in my home, scot-free. And to top it all off, if all the other things that, the loud sex, the banging of the bed against the wall, the neighbors knocking on the door saying, what's all that racket, and us having to turn our TV up loud to prevent from hearing Rachel and Keith have extremely loud sex. Good sex is good, Your Honor, but, they took it to the extreme, And then to top it all off, then she tries to hit on my man,
She did?
Yes. This lady right here tries to hit on my man while she's in her drunken stupors off her juice that she was drinking.
She would every time that Rachel would get drunk, she would come to me and tell me that how much she would want to be with me. I mean, I understand that I'm a good looking guy, but I love this man right here, and I don't want to be with a woman. If I was going to be with a woman, I wouldn't want to be with that woman over there.
Whoa.
This man is crazy.
Well, you've got nothing to say. Rachel, did you?
No. Yes, we did have sex, of course, but they did the same thing. You know, it's not just like
You know
us.
what? I don't
And
need
the
to know
neighbors
anymore.
never knocked.
Yeah,
The
you know
neighbors
what?
never knocked on the door.
I don't care. Now, why, since the lease only says Gary, Garrett, and Keith, why didn't you say at the end of the first 48 hours when she moved in,
Well, we had told
give
her.
us another, you know, $375?
We had told him, you know, as part of if she was going to be living there like and acting like it was her home, that she would need to have to pay rent there.
Did they tell you that? Did they ask for rent?
No, not for me, no. And also in the notarized statement,
It's $380. It was $300 for rent and $80 for utilities.
So, and
So
he
it's
paid
half and half.
$375?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the agreement, you can see.
Immediately, you do not get any money for a countersuit when you did address them asking for a favor, as opposed to saying, by the way, you owed me money and, you know, I wish you'd give me X, Y, or Z. You don't do that. Here's what's interesting about this. You wrote the contract. So normally I would have avoided this as usurious interest and said you were absolutely not entitled to $100. But the truth is that the defendant, in seeking it, offered to pay you $100. And therefore, you do get that $100. So verdict is on behalf of the plaintiff for $450 plus $100. Your next roommates, all four of you, you find people that you can get along with.